Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to get into super high frequency training. So I just had somebody in the comments ask me, how can they get into super high frequency training? Like, which program should they use? Specifically mine. You know, I'd rather you use my programs because it helps me support this channel and be able to keep bringing content to you. And if you're interested in podcasts on this sort of subject, I am doing podcasts on Patreon. So if you guys have not signed up to be a patron yet, that again also helps me make more of this content for you. Mountain. So getting back to my point, how should you start doing high frequency training? Well, the truth is that a lot of people started doing high frequency training by training each body part about 3 times per week with whatever volume they can recover from. So back in the day when I was about 15 years old, I was training all of my upper body about 2 or 3 sets, 3 times a week, and I was doing generally sets of 10 reps. So that was how I started doing 3-day-a-week training, which is classified as high frequency to some. You know, especially to people who are doing bro splits or doing 3-day splits or 4-day splits when they're only getting their body parts in once, maybe twice a week or 1.5 times. Getting your body part in 3 times a week would be classified as a higher frequency sort of program. So now one of the big mistakes that people make when they're doing high frequency training is that they don't play around with the volume or the intensity enough. So there are lots of workouts where I play with the weights, you could say. I'm not using super heavy weight. Like here in the shoulder presses I was just doing in the squat rack here. I was basically just using lighter weight where I can get about 20 to 30 reps, and I'm just pumping out those reps, right? So there's gonna be more days like that when you are training with a higher frequency, because higher reps are easier to recover from than super heavy weight, because super heavy weight does challenge the ligaments, the tendons, and the joint tissue more so. And the joints do not recover as fast as the muscles. So you want to play with these different parameters, which is why I've outlined how to adjust these parameters in my workout programs. And that's why I think that's a great split for you to start with, is to look at how I do things with the whole body workout as well as the 2-day splits and stuff. And then you're going to get a feel or a vibe of how this works. But if you just go in and try to say, okay, I'm going to do 1 rep maxes every single workout and train a body part 3 times a week, you're going to get injured. You're going to cause a whole bunch of problems to yourself. And in the end, you're going to get less results and then falsely assume that high frequency training doesn't work. And that's just not the way it is supposed to be done. You have to adjust the rep ranges, you have to adjust the intensities and the exercises. Because that's the other thing people do, is they stick to the same exercise every single workout, and then they may overtrain that recruitment pattern and not necessarily get the same benefit as if they change up the weights. So you have to be brave to do this type of training. If you have too much fear and insecurity dominating you, you're not going to be able to do this experiment properly, because you're going to get insecure about, oh, am I losing my strength because I did higher reps today? Or am I losing my strength because I didn't bench press for the 10th time this week? You know, the thing is, you have to be open to trying the different forms of stimulus. So this is the thing. So this is why you see me not always using maximal poundages. That's why, because I do train with a really high frequency, and I find that if I train with a really low frequency and do super heavy all the time, I get less results than doing things this way. Remember the callous principle. Mood. If you're interested in following a template, I do have programs on my website. I do have whole body workouts, which is where you could start. You could start with a whole body workout 3 times a week. And then from there, go to the 2-day split A program, B program, C program, D program. Then maybe take a break and go into a 3-day split for a period of time, or maybe a bro split or whatever for maybe a few weeks. And then you can go into the super high frequency program that I have also on my website. So all of these programs you can find on my website, naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. And that's a great way to start investigating whether your body responds really well to high frequency training. Now, if your body's not responding at all to 2-day splits, or you feel like horrible after doing it for 3 or 4 months and you feel like your body's just not adapting, well, then you're going to have to adjust a few parameters. Perhaps you're going to have to lower down the amount of sets, maybe lighten up the weight, or maybe you're going to have to take an extra day off here and there in order to compensate for that type of training. But only through experimenting with it will you know. And what I found is that even when I had established pretty great results with 3-day split programs, once I went to the 2-day split program or a higher frequency type of training, my body responded much better. I started to get a lot more results from that. Now, what do I do right now? I'm doing a combination of a full body program or a 2-day split program. I kind of go back and forth depending on what I feel is going on in my body at the time. So I go a lot on instinctual wisdom and I'm just gonna play a short game, okay? Just a short game. I don't want too much intensity here. Oh, let's try Saber. Saber Wolf. Oh man, I gotta fight Saber? What the hell? Okay. Whoa, that's bad. Oh, come on, come on. Okay, that's enough intensity today. We talked about this. This is where it's time to step away from the game, okay? Step away. So I'm constantly in alignment with the pulse of my body and feeling, okay, what's recovering, what's not recovering, and then I respond to that. But at first, you won't necessarily have that type of intuition. And I didn't either when I first started training. A lot of times I was training the body, but I wasn't really sure about what body part I was hitting, even though technically I was hitting back, but I wasn't really feeling the back when I first started training. And this is totally normal because it takes a while for your awareness to penetrate the muscle, right? It takes a while to penetrate with that awareness and that coordination. And then from there, you start to get feedback. So it's almost like at first you're building the wires, kind of like cell towers. And then from there, once the cell towers are built in the muscle, then the information can come back to you. Unfortunately, there's no way to short circuit that process, but it's just part of the process. And it's, in my experience, best to start with a template of some sort to start establishing that connection between you and the muscles. So yeah, I recommend start with a whole body workout and then work your way into 2-day split programs, maybe taking a little bit less time off, and then see how you feel from that. Because in the end, feeling precedes growth. You know what I'm saying? Once you start to understand what feeling in your body precedes what experience or what, effect, then you start to grow in wisdom. And that's what my programs are designed to do, is to basically connect you to your body. And then from there, you're going to notice that you're going to have an inherent wisdom that starts to take over time. Gonna find a chicken around here. There's an eagle up there, but it's too tough. I'm not going to fight that. Not today, anyway. Too many pointy ends. So yeah, my experience doing a whole body program 3 days per week is a great way to start with this whole process of high frequency training. You want to keep the volume lower just to make sure you recover, and then increase if you notice that you're recovering way too fast. And then from there, you start to get used to it and your body starts to get acclimated. And that's the whole basis of higher frequency training, is that you're acclimating the body to stress. You're not destroying it or overstimulating it, but what you are is immersing it in a constant environment of subtle stress, which causes an overall growth of the body. And this is a process I call the callous principle, right? If I just shovel dirt once a week, I'll tear my hands apart. But if I do a little bit every day, I start to build calluses and then my body adapts. So your body can adapt to certain amounts of stress, and if it gets too much stress, it can't adapt. It just gets injured or goes backwards. So this is the great part of the harmony of life that exists during a higher frequency type training. It's almost like you're constantly responding to how the body is feeling and what is happening. And I find in bro splits and stuff, it's almost like you're flying a bit blind, where you just kill the muscle and then don't, almost turn your awareness off for about a week and then come back to the body again after you've rested for a week. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the awareness building is a much more prevalent principle when you're doing higher frequency training. So yeah, I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you check out my podcast on Patreon, the Natural Gallant Bodybuilding podcast on my Patreon page. The link is down below. And if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters. Mountain. Natural Gallant.